So I wanted to start off today's video talking a bit about haul culture, or more specifically as applies to me, art haul culture, because $500 art hauls are not normal. And I'm still kind of sorting out how I feel about them, because as someone who creates and as someone who watches a lot of these kinds of videos, it's just a really complex situation in a way. I would love to hear your thoughts about it, so definitely let me know down below in the comments. Do you watch art haul videos? Do you enjoy them? Do you feel that they're over the top right now? I mean, I guess I'm gonna take the sort of safe way out and say that I think that they are both very good and they are both very bad, and I think two things can be true because I know that people love to watch them. And I guess my question is, does it make you buy more or does it make you buy less? And maybe that is just the kind of person that you are. For me, I think in general, it has always made me buy actually less, because here's the thing. I don't love collecting a lot of stuff, but I do like to really see it before I buy it, which helps me not collect as much stuff, if that makes sense. So if I'm watching like a big haul video and someone's trying 10 different markers with all these different sizes, your 0.8, your 0.5, you know, like the more medium size nibs, the larger nibs. The upside for me in watching a haul video is that I'll know which one I want and I don't have to buy them all. Whereas sometimes when you're in the art store, you're faced with decisions, or online, you don't exactly know what you're getting. But when you see someone haul and maybe swatch, it does give you a good idea. But on the other hand, there is an earned criticism that these things encourage overbuying, right? And not everybody can afford that many things, nor should they. And I think even as a beginner, constraint is a good thing. So I do have mixed feelings on the topic. Some of my favorite creators here really specialize in art hauls, and I think it's easy to pillory people from making these art haul videos where they just seem to be consuming so much stuff. But I think with art supplies, there is a bit of a difference. Not least because you can give them away very readily. You can definitely resell them on eBay. You will take a loss, but maybe that's okay. Or maybe you won't, just depends on what you buy. But you know, they do very well. And I can say this as someone who's made videos with small hauls. I don't really ever do big hauls, and I'm not planning to anytime soon. But my guess is creators make them because that's what people enjoy watching. So you get caught as a creator in this thing where you're just kind of trying to please your audience. I don't think it contributes to pollution quite as much as like fast fashion, like you see people do Shein hauls and stuff like that. I don't think it's really the same kind of thing. Also because some of these people are professional artists or aspiring artists, and they intend to use everything that they buy as well. So there's that aspect as well, where it's not like they're just buying it for the video and then they're never going to touch it again. So I don't know. But on the other hand, isn't it a ridiculous problem to have, like too much stuff? I feel very kind of conflicted about it. I would like to know what you think. Okay, we're at the library now for some arty fun. Coincidentally, and I really didn't plan it this way, I did something today that has pretty much all the fun of an art haul, minus the expense, minus the buying things you maybe don't really even need, you just thought you had to have. And that was that my local library, I'm friends with one of the librarians there because I attend a fiber arts social club that we have there. Well, one of the librarians was hosting a discarded books collaging session, which is completely up my alley. I've never done collage before, but I just love the idea of filling a sketchbook with these little papers. She had a lot of magazines there, books that you could just do whatever you wanted with, because ultimately these are all headed for the recycling. So that was a lot of fun. Another one of my friends from the Fiber Arts Social Club, I guess you would call it, a social circle, she came too. So we were just having an afternoon out of it. I found an old Little Women book, which I pulled bits from, and then some magazines and some other books with like beautiful flowers. And you know what? It felt kind of nice to save these from their ultimate destiny of being recycled, because yes, indeed, you can't keep books forever, and some people think it's sacrilegious to tear up a book. I certainly felt that way, but some of them are just beyond repair. Like they are falling out at the spine and they're no good really to anybody at that point. They are destined 100% for the recycling. And this is not my judgment. This is the judgment of a professional librarian. So they know when their time is due, but she had a whole bunch of masks, and it's all the way of seeing so many visual things, so many colors, but then without buying anything. And I think that this is something you could do too if you're into community organizing or you have a group of friends who like to make art together. There's no reason a bunch of people couldn't get together and do this exact thing with things they have lying around or things that they could even get inexpensively. I mean, really all you need are the materials, maybe a sketchbook if you have one or not. Some people are just pasting onto paper, and a glue stick, really. That's pretty much what you need. But we had some other fun extras there. She had washi tape and some stickers, and basically everything you needed for like a junk journal experience. So that was my first experience doing that. And I kind of like how my pages turned out. I think they're pretty cute. This one was heavily centered on Beth from Little Women. That's supposed to be a picture of her. And I just did some more drawing on top of it. I found a marker that I liked and some writing. And then I had a second notebook with me where I kind of grabbed something out of the title page, and I just think it turned out really pretty. It kind of scratched an itch that I didn't even know that I needed scratched. So that was a lot of fun. We were also encouraged just to grab things. I mean, I could have taken the whole book that was about to be discarded home with me, but instead my friend and I just tore out a lot of the pages that we really liked, and we can keep these for any projects we want to going forward. And then from another book, I don't know, just like very inspirational, pretty pages that really appealed. So yeah, once I could get over kind of the weird feeling of ripping up books, that by the way had pages missing. Most of them were like in very bad condition. So I don't know where this feeling comes from. I think it's a little bit misplaced. Once I could get over that, I really did enjoy kind of just picking out stuff that I want to use for later. This came from a children's book. Very, very pretty illustrative images. And the color palette to me is just delightful. So I got a few stickers in here as well. So what a great way to expand your practice, right? Expand your practice. And that was no cost to me. So I think maybe I found a new fun art practice, which is collage, or I don't know if I like the name junk journaling, but I guess it's very freeing. So there's got that going for it, where you just don't feel like anything has to be too precious because the literal name is junk journaling. It's now the next day and I'm just back from the gym, so hopefully I don't look too disheveled. The other thing I wanted to touch upon is that I know I mentioned $500 art supply hauls, and I am seeing those becoming a little bit more common. And I don't know if that's because creators genuinely just want to buy a lot of stuff. I think sometimes they're gifted a lot of stuff. But I suspect also that if you know your audience really likes it, you're probably buying more than you need to make a longer video to make that more enjoyable for people. And ultimately that becomes satisfying for all parties involved. So there is, I think, an incentive to do that. But I also just want to say, like, for beginners, it can feel very intimidating to see somebody have so many supplies when you maybe only have a little. And I have another video here about what I think you need as a beginner, which is very little. I really suggest you don't spend maybe much more than maybe $30, $40 when you're just starting out. Like, just get a sense of whether you like watercolor before you start buying expensive sets and like loose half pans, and maybe spend a bit of time getting to know how to mix colors. There's lots of time to buy things. And I know I say this as a lot of sales are going to be coming on. People are going to be spending a lot of money on art supplies, but take a step back and remember that some people like to collect, right? There's a hobby of art supply collecting. And some of the people you're seeing here on YouTube are doing that. I am not really much of a collector. In terms of making art haul videos, I'll just like make mini ones. I don't usually buy very much at a time. I am quite frugal and quite intentional about the things that I buy. But what I do like making that I think is actually more helpful is more in-depth swatching videos of how the paints look. And I have ones where I've hit the pan, like I am nearly done and I'm still making swatching videos out of that. So I get enjoyment out of those. It's very relaxing. It's relaxing to make those videos. I think it's relaxing to watch those videos. So I guess I'm making this video in a bit of a response to like maybe give you some ideas of what you can do instead of feeling like maybe pressured to yourself either overbuy or feel like you don't have enough or feel like you need the next thing. Like, there's so many ways to have fun and bring more into your life if that's what you're after. Like with the collaging that we did, that don't involve buying a whole bunch of stuff. I almost feel bad making this video because some of like the nicest creators here are people who do these really big hauls, you know, and if you're someone who enjoys those, I don't want I don't want to make you feel bad about enjoying them. They are kind of a form of entertainment. Like, I get that. But then there's the frugal and environmentally conscious side of me that is like, well, maybe somebody needs to speak up against them as well and just say, like, that's not normal. Try and remember that's a form of entertainment. You don't need to buy that much yourself, because it's entirely possible you will not use them and just have a bunch of unopened stuff, or, you know, have a credit card bill you're going to have to deal with for things you didn't need. But then maybe you're a collector. So again, I'm trying to keep options open for everybody, if that makes sense. Like, I'm just trying to show you some different paths so that, yeah, I just feel like somebody needed to address this, and I don't see that many people addressing specifically this. One way that I like to have fun with my existing art supplies, when I'm sort of feeling the urge to like maybe pick up some more stuff, but I know that I should try and use up what I already have, is to have an unloved art supply day where I just try and focus on using things that I have. I guess I like them. I don't love them. I don't use them as much as I should. So I'm working on that right now. I nature journal almost daily right now, especially as, you know, we're coming to the end of all the blooms. They're starting to really crisp up and dwindle, but while I still can, you know, I saw a neighborhood sunflower, so I'm trying to get them in the journal before it becomes, well, wintry here, and it's been exceptionally nice, I should say that. So if you're seeing it looking very nice around me, Toronto's not usually that warm this time of year. We're just having a really extended summery season. But to get back to my point, what I'll do is I'll sort of pick through all my existing supplies, and I'll be like, what are the things I think I should be using more? Because I really wanted to use them a lot when I bought them, but I haven't been getting the most out of them. So I'll put those aside, and then I'll make myself make something with just those items. So, to wit, I am using, for this particular drawing of the sunflower, I decided to use this, which is my Faber-Castell fine liner. So I usually will use a Pigma Micron. That is my favorite kind to use, but I don't pick this one up as much as I might like to. It's in a gray color that makes it look a bit like pencil. You know, it's one of those sizes, 0.33, that is for me neither thin nor thick. So that is kind of something that I don't use as much. So I made myself draw with this, and it is pleasant. I don't want to say like made myself when I was hating the experience. I was actually enjoying the experience. Just a reminder to start using the things that are kind of collecting dust. This is not an art supply technically at all. It's just an office pen. This is a Deluxe Micro by Uniball, but these are waterproof. They make quite nice pens if you like a really, really extra fine nib, and you can watercolor on top of it. So I started my drawing with these, and then I have been meaning to use this Roman Schmal Urban Sketcher set far more than I actually have been using, because I'm very much in a routine with my favorites. So I decided, you know what, even though this is not quite the right yellow, I put it in here. This was a loose one I stuck in this kit because there were some extra spaces. I'm gonna mix that with a tiny bit of orange. I'm gonna get the right-ish color for the sunflowers. Once I did that, I decided to add in some imaginative color using the turquoise, you know, which is a color that I love, but I don't use as much as I thought I was gonna use. Really just forcing myself a little bit to use up these supplies, because they're not normally the ones I would have gone for, and it feels really fulfilling to do that. So I'm just gonna finish up today's entry using my Sailor Fude pen. Urban Sketchers are crazy for this pen. Like, if you do follow urban sketching, which if you don't know what urban sketching it's when people go out and they draw buildings very often, or just scenes, and they'll pencil it in, and then they'll usually put a wash of color over it, although you don't have to do that. The only really obligatory thing there is to sketch, right? It is called Urban Sketch. This pen is such a favorite. It's got that bent nib. It can do the thin lines. It can do the thick lines, but I don't like it. So hot tip, this is not my favorite. Everybody's crazy for it, but I think its sister here, which I think is the 40-degree bent nib, the lines don't go as thick, and I much prefer it. I think for me, this is a much more versatile pen. This one, the lines are too thick. That's me. Everybody's got a different opinion. I get that, but if I could only have one, it would be this one with the less bent nib that I don't hear people talking about, but I'm gonna put you on. If you own this one,
just get this one as well, because now you have compatible everything to go with it, right? And you might enjoy using this one that's not quite as thick instead. Very, very underrated. And also, if you like to just journal, again, I find this too thick for handwriting, but this one is just, it hits perfect. So I'm just gonna pop in here, and then for my journals, I just like to sort of say what it is. You know, you can see one from a little while ago. I'll just put like dog rose or whatever it is. Orange, coneflower, an acorn from my neighborhood, a garden cosmos. So, you know, I'll just write that in. I've been using, for those that you see here, like for this page, I use Sakura sketch brush, which is not a fine liner, though it looks like one. It's actually a brush nib. So I have been using that and enjoying it. It's waterproof. It looks exactly like a Micron though, so you just have to double check when you do pick it up. But I'm gonna go in with this one today instead, just to do something different, just to use those unloved supplies. So let me get to writing this in. Oh, sorry, I picked up the wrong one. I'm not meaning to use this brown one because I use that daily. I'm meaning to use this green bodied one. These pens are beautifully scratchy. I don't know if you have any Sailor pens, but they have such a beautiful scratchy feeling. But if you don't like a scratchy feeling, it might not be your friend. The upside though is they're quite inexpensive. I think you can get both of them for around, I want to say maybe $25. I don't know. I'll put a link if I remember to do that. Yeah, sunflower. These are called common sunflowers, but I'm not feeling like using the word common. I think sunflower is quite enough. So yeah, mission accomplished. Oh, and just very quickly, because I completely forgot to mention these two brushes. I don't use them as much as I might like, so I decided to pick them up and made sure that I did the painting in part with them today. And this is my size 4 of my Cotman. I don't know, I just don't pick it up that much. And then the square, which I feel like I never really got to grips with using well. So I use that on the leaf and just touching in some imaginative color in there. I'm still not convinced I love these the most out of my collection, but it feels good, again, to just use the things that I have and that I intended on using a lot.
We're having just such a beautiful day. I can't believe I am still in short sleeves. I decided to move out a whole bunch of my art supplies out here so that I could do a little outdoor painting. I keep saying it's the last one of the season, and the season keeps surprising me by giving me more nice days, but I'm going to take them. So I've got one more idea for something you can do that can extend, you know, the things that you already have. That's a lot of fun to play with. You know, just in case you think you need to buy a whole bunch of stuff, maybe consider this first. You guys are a little bit crooked. I'm always straightening out my camera. Forgive me, but I don't want you to feel lopsided. Okay, I'm not sure, as usual, that I made that any better. So this is a little trick that I developed when I wanted to start playing with gouache, but I didn't want to buy all the gouaches out there, but I may. I'm very tempted to try gouache. A friend of mine just bought the Mannen 48 set. That is apparently quite affordable of gouache. I've been toying with the idea of buying Himi gouache. You know, I'm trying not to, but this is the way I've extended the things that I have. It's not exactly the same as having all those colors, but it can be fun to play with. And that is just acquiring a little bit of gouache, white gouache. This is Winsor & Newton's designer gouache in permanent white. I think I wanted titanium white, but that's what they had. I'm just gonna buy the less expensive one this time. There was no reason for me to buy such an expensive tube. I didn't know that at the time, but now I'm thinking for what I do, it probably wouldn't have made a huge difference. So what I'll do is when I want to make a tone that has like more lightness, more of a sort of milky look to it, I will just add a bit of gouache. And I'm mentioning this because I borrowed this book from the library. So this is another great foil so that you don't start crazy overbuying. Maybe think about going somewhere where you can get an abundance of things like the library. You can take out a whole bunch of watercolor books, but I got this one, which has been kind of fun, the big book of watercolor. And the librarian there, and I know I'm mentioning the library a lot, but that's where I've been the last couple days, must have taken out all of the templates, because you know they're usually stuck in there and then you feel like you can't access them and it's a library book and you don't want to pick it apart. Somebody already took them all out. Isn't that lucky for us? And put a little plastic pouch in there so that we can put them back in. So I really appreciate that. But what I want to make is this strawberry. Strawberry season is long over, but you see how this has this milky aspect? I don't have anything quite this color, but I think if I mix in with some gouache, I could get there. And yeah, so this is what I'm going to do for this afternoon. Have a little bit of fun. But yeah, that's my other big tip. So this big book of watercolor, maybe you want to buy it because it's got templates that you might want to pick out, and it looks very appropriate for beginners. I have had a flick through. And then the other one that caught my eye, and you gotta love the library for just letting you explore things, is watercolor painting at home. This is kind of a pretty one too. I don't think it's as good for beginners as this big book of watercolor, but I just like the cover. Look at that. I like this glass and these jars. I think they're just so prettily done. So I want to try dipping into some of these. And then what my tactic is I will get these books out of the library, and then when there's some that I really like, I'll purchase those. Again, trying to be conscious and effective at what I'm buying. And again, I don't live in a huge house. I don't have a ton of space to store all this stuff, nor do I want to, because I think some people love the feeling, but I feel almost oppressed by it. Like if it's too much stuff, I feel too much pressure to use it. So that's me. I've taken the liberty of just sketching this in, and I didn't use the template after all. I guess that's one of the upsides of spending a lot of time practicing drawing, is that I've gotten so much better at freehanding things that I don't feel like I rely that much on templates anymore. And then what I like to do is I use my kneaded eraser just to lift up some of the tone. This is my way of doing it. Everybody has their own way. And what I'm going to do is follow this, I guess. They've got a recipe here where they're saying use cobalt blue, and then you lighten it by using a bit of lemon yellow. So that should be interesting. But what I'm going to do as well is just add a tiny bit of gouache here that I can just pull in as I wish to get that more milky, opaque look that I think is going to make it look really good. So I am going to give that a try. I don't think I have the exact cobalt blue color that they're asking for, but I think that that's going to be pretty close. And then I do actually have lemon yellow in this palette that we were looking at before. That is, I think, cotton yellow. So let's start swishing these together. Oh, I should have used a lot less yellow. I should have known that, because now I'm going to have to punch this up a lot with the blue to get it back. And it's still pulling too green. That's my mistake. I should not have used so much yellow, but that's okay. Now I'm going to pull this white in to give it a kind of that milky look that I was talking about. I think that that's going to look really pretty. Although now I'm seeing that it's a little too light. So let's put this in. I'm telling you, the way that I futz with my color mixing, but it is fun. All right, I will see you when this is all done. I quite like working in gouache because it behaves that little bit differently from watercolor, and it has that more opaque look. And this is gonna, I think, dry a little darker than it is. It's so interesting. I really like doing this where I just add some gouache into colors. So with that said, friends, I'm just gonna finish this off. You know, I'm gonna be painting, relaxing out here. I hope that I've encouraged you to maybe think outside of the box a little bit in terms of, like, if you're trying not to buy so much, or you just watched a haul and you're trying not to like overdo it. I hope that this has given you a little bit of inspiration, and I'm gonna keep painting, and I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you for spending your time here with me, and if you haven't yet, please consider liking and subscribing.